Golden Light, check. Chorus of Wildebeest, check. 5 Cheetah Brothers, check. And car intact and not stuck in the mud, check. This is Safari Live. Good morning to all of you and welcome to a glorious sunrise safari, starting off with the 5 Cheetah boys out here in the Masai Mara of Kenya. What a perfect way, I feel, to start off our morning safari. For the next 3 hours, we're going to be taking you on a journey through Kenya and through the Sabi Sands in South Africa so that you can enjoy all of the wonders that Africa has to offer. Just a quick introduction from my side. We've been up all night, so if I look a little bit the worse for the wear, I do apologize. It's just one of those things. My name is Jamie. This morning Manu is on camera with me, and we're live here in the Masai Mara on the eastern side of the Mara River, right up sort of quite close to the central section of the National Reserve. Because this is 100% live, you can send through your questions on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. But first, I'm going to tell you about our night last night, because you might have missed some of it. So, starting off with the adventures of the 5 gentlemen to my left. They set off and walked throughout the night until at around about, what would we say, Manu, about 9:30. They managed to catch a fully grown topi antelope. They caught it, they took it down, and they fed for a considerable period of time, hence the rather round bellies on the pair of them. A hyena showed up, called a little bit, and then sat and watched them from a distance, didn't disturb them. And then everything changed in the blink of an eye as 2 male lions came wandering through and chased them away, and in fact chased them for quite a long time, and eventually stole their kill. So they lost their kill to the lions. 2 lionesses actually came through earlier than that, but they were busy running away from something. I don't know. It was complete chaos last night, and then this morning turned into complete chaos as well. We were sitting here watching the cheetah when we heard the hyenas going absolutely mental. We went to go and investigate and found them with a buffalo kill that I think they stole from the lionesses. And as it happened, the buffalo weren't terribly impressed with life. They were chasing the hyena, and then they decided that it was all our fault. So Manu and I decided tactically it might be to our advantage to watch them from a slightly safer distance, given that the females in the buffalo herd were charging us. And one in particular decided to see us off and chase us all the way down the hill. It was quite fun, actually. Definitely not the way I expect to start my morning. Incoming! Hyenas racing past. There's the poor bullied individual. Oh, he's going to disappear. Here come the other 2 who are chasing them. Let's hold on 1 second, Els. There they go. These 2 have been bullying this poor other hyena the entire morning. He's the reason we knew what was going on. And they are still intent on chasing this poor chap. They're going to come racing through the bushes. Alright, we're going to just quickly loop around. We'll come back to the Cheetah boys in a moment. We're going to just see what these hyenas get up to. Quickly, let's send you across to Brent so he can do his good mornings as well.
Morning, 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 and welcome to the Masai Mara. Fergus has spotted something. Ground hornbills. Well spotted, Ferg. And here we go. My name is Brent Smith. I have Fergus, as you heard, on camera with us this morning. And unlike Jamie, we didn't have the most exciting night. We were with the Sausage Pride, and they decided to curl up into little balls and sleep. And sleep. And sleep some more. So we left them and went and got some sleep of our own. So I'm going to go see if they might have got moving this morning. But let's show you those. Are they ground hornbills? I think they're vultures. Yes, they are. Here we go. There's some leopard-faced ground vultures, a new species, sitting on top of a termite mound, taking in the morning rays. Now, it's quite unusual in southern Africa to see vultures sitting on the ground or sleeping on the ground, but out here in the Mara, it isn't that unusual. We see it quite often. Now remember, if you've got any questions for us, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. We would love to hear from you. Now we're going to continue our adventure towards where I left the Sausage Pride last night, and hopefully they're still hungry and haven't moved too far. Now there's a lot of zebra in this area, so who knows what might have happened in the early hours of this morning. While we trundle along, let's go across to Tristan, who's at Treehouse Dam yet again.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunrise Safari from South Africa. Yes, Brent Leo Smith, we are at Treehouse Dam, and that is because there is the big booming roar of the king of the predators coming from somewhere in this area, so we're trying to see if we can find him, and so we stopped here just to listen out and try and get another call from them. I did find tracks for one male that was going past quarantine, but that's not the one that we heard calling, so I'm trying to have a little look around in this area. Now, as Brent said, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got a Senzo, and it is live, it is interactive, which means hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat if you would like to get hold of us. Now, as I say, there are lions roaring. There was tracks for a male lion on Weaver's Nest that went north past quarantine, and Rexon has got them all the way up on the fact that Rexon's on Weird Taylor Access means that in all likelihood that is not the same individual. We heard this individual so there we go. Thanks, Senzo. My collar was all tucked in. I was not wearing a quite warm, but the clouds have come over and it means it's a little bit now, so I had to put a jersey on quickly just before we went live, otherwise I would have been quite cold, I think. It seems that there's a fixed price crossed into last night from to try and have a look around and see what there is. I think little Tumba will be somewhere in his usual spot around Spaghetti Junction, so that's kind of the plan for the morning, is to try and see if we can find these lions while still vocalizing and still seem to be nothing on them. Then we'll get to but they must be here somewhere. The sound came from this general vicinity, so Weaver's Nest, Treehouse, that area is where it sounded like. So hopefully we will be able to find them. It's all very exciting. Lions roaring, and this thing, you get such an adrenaline pump from it, because it's kind of like this, you know, all of a sudden you hear this big booming roar, and then you know, okay, they must be here somewhere, and then you kind of, it's to decode exactly where they called from, and then in that direction to try and find. It's all very, very fun indeed, and it kind of gets you going in the morning, that's for sure. It's certainly a big wake-up call that you receive. Michael, it depends on terrain and vegetation and things like that, as well as even to a degree humidity and those kind of things, but we can us as people from normally about 5 kilometers, sometimes a little bit more if the conditions are right, and let's say a lion is on a raised area, much as a long way away.
Oh dear, it seems as though Tristan has disappeared off your screens, but that's okay. I'm just waving at the people in the balloon and trying to tell them that there's 5 cheetah over there. Hi! Look down there, look over there. There are cheetah there. My goodness, you got lucky. You've basically flown over them. Cheetah not bothered at all, looking up at the sound of the hot air balloon, but not concerned. There we are, all 5 boys tucked away. I couldn't catch up with the hyenas. Let's have a look back at them as they're tucked away on a termite mound. I would have expected them to sleep there, actually. I even said that to Manu last night, but as it was, they passed out in the open. Completely in the open. Fast asleep, which was great for Manu and I. It meant that we managed to catch about 3 hours. Eon, lovely to hear from you, and thank you for sending through your question. Eon, I think this might be your first encounter with the Five Musketeers, as they are known around here. They are not a pride of cheetahs, they're a coalition. So cheetahs are essentially solitary cats, especially the females. However, the males will form coalitions where they basically group together, and that allows them to defend and to hold a territory in a way that is better than if it was just one male on his own. To see five like this is exceptional. It's very, very unusual. They are young males, but they are all grouped together in a coalition. They work together as a team. And what's extraordinary about these males and what we've learnt about them is that they hunt at night, and they hunt like lions. They harass, or actually I don't know how if I would describe it as hunting like lions, but they harass the herds of antelope, and instead of relying on their sort of top speed, which they do use, they lope after the herds of antelope and the herds of wildebeest and essentially cause panic, and then one of them will be able to trip up a hapless victim, which they did last night while they were hunting the topies. And it's quite extraordinary to watch them acting as a social predator, where we're so accustomed to seeing that footage of the one cheetah live and fast racing after an antelope all on her own. These five boys have got a serious advantage. And of course it also means that they're better able to defend their kills. So last night the hyena found them, but he wasn't willing to take on five boys defending their meal. So they found themselves in quite an extraordinary position, and it's going to be very interesting to see the way that it plays out. What was fascinating was watching the dynamics of these boys. D'Artagnan, who I've started calling him Dart, with the obvious cheetah reference, but don't quote me on that. He's the one that wears the collar in order to research and track the movements of these beautiful cats, and he's one of the biggest ones in this coalition, and yet he's such an outsider. He was always on the outskirts of things, left behind, and then they'd call for him, and then he'd come, and then they'd all jump on him and bully him, till he started squeaking in protest. And when it came to mealtime, he didn't eat initially, and then he chased them all off the kill and had his fill. And whenever they have a sort of a cuddle and grooming session, he always seems to be on the outskirts. It's just an interesting dynamic that's developed within them. It's a young coalition, they are young males, so they still have to figure out exactly where they all stand in this particular group. And of course there is the possibility that they might split. Jared's buddy, yes, I think the others will definitely get names. In fact, they might already have names to start with. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, we go off of the Mara Cheetah Project's names, so they are the ones that research and monitor these cats. They might have names for the rest of them. Obviously, the Musketeer reference will probably be dominant in the naming process, but of course there's five of them, which makes life something like that. But yes, the more time we spend with these boys, them, if they stick around in this area, we'll actually be able to identify them individually by just by looking at them, just in the same way that we do with the leopards of the sands. Snazzy, looking at our cheetah, you want to know if leopards are the only ones that have the print ID with the leopards with the leopard spots, with the whisker spots, or if cheetah do too. Cheetah do have unique spot patterns around their whiskers. Of course, there would be a leaf in the way, wouldn't there? Just because we want to talk about it. But as you can see, they're not nearly as bold or easy to see as they are in a leopard or a lion. And that is why identifying cheetah, it is standard to use side-on shots of the cheetah's spot patterns. Each spot pattern is as unique as fingerprints, and each one will have a unique sort of set of spots that will be used to identify them. Oh, the hyenas are fighting. We'll go and have a look at that carcass shortly. The cheetahs are listening to them. I also, I find when I identify leopards, I actually find it easier. I know the traditional way. Hi guys. I know that the traditional way is to look at the spot patterns of the whiskers. I prefer to look at the sort of identifiable spots. I find it just much easier. You know, there's always a spot that's joined together, or it makes a funny shape, it makes a tick, it makes a heart, it makes a whatever your mind happens to see. In the case of Karula, of course, it was the wow on her forehead. And we will always remember that. And that's what I look for. But I haven't spent enough time with these boys. This is the first night that I've spent with them. Please, go away. James, following Cheetah at night is an interesting experience because, of course, you're that much more cautious with the use of your headlights as you're following them. What I found that I was doing a lot was moving alongside them, because what I really didn't want to do was attract the attention of or illuminate them in any way to things like hyenas and lions. And as it happens, the lions found them regardless while we were switched off with our lights off, and they ambushed them. And the cheetah actually really only just got away. But it is a different experience. They then following a leopard at night, and pitch blackness off-road. Otherwise we find ourselves in them, turned off, switched the lights off and waited for them to come to us. And we did that in loops around them. I was constantly using our thermal, there's D'Artagnan and his collar, constantly using our thermal to check ahead of us to see whether or not there was any potential prey. Please. Just breathed in about 5 of them. Go away. Go away. Go away. They're harassing me and I keep breathing them in. This is ridiculous. Am I not even the same problem? No, it's just me. It's because we've been out for 2 days and I smell slightly. Go away. Apparently Taylor had the same problem yesterday. Okay, I give up. This is ridiculous. There's no point to doing that. Oh, no, get out of my eye. And my morning's been eventful enough as it is. Get out of my nose. Oof. Maybe it's something about Taylor and myself. It's just because we smell so pretty. Jan, cheetah numbers, in terms of cheetahs in the wild, no, they're not healthy. They're one of the most endangered big cats. They are recovering. Apparently the cheetah numbers are growing in places like the Mara ecosystem. They are one of the most endangered big cats, and there's a couple of reasons behind that. One is they're highly specialized. They're not adaptable in the same way leopards are, or in fact lions are. The other is that they are genetically very indistinct. So there was a population bottleneck which has made them vulnerable to diseases, because obviously genetic variation is the key to an animal's survival. The resistance, one or two individuals might carry the gene that make them more resistant to a potential disease or something along those lines. And then of course the human impact is enormous. Loss of habitat. Cheetahs have a massive home range, particularly female cheetahs, which of course brings them into contact with all sorts of very unfortunately into private reserves or enclosed sort of. So the cheetah struggle because the lions, by concentration of lions in the area, they're a massive threat to cheetah, and they are responsible for a large number of cheetah cubs' deaths, hyena and lion as well. So cheetah numbers are not healthy. People are doing a great deal in order to try and keep them safe from harm. It's not always that easy though. Okay boys, I think we're going to I think they're going to sleep like this for the rest of the morning, and it's quite tricky, and there's quite a few vehicles that are vying for a position to be able to see them. And since we've had the privilege of spending the entire night with them, I think we might start moving off and go off and have a look at that hyena kill. Right. Of course, I've been out many a night in Mara. I was promised an aardvark sighting a night. It hasn't happened. Perhaps Tristan can track one down for us.
Well, I don't know. That's maybe pushing a little far to track one down, but at least we have beautiful example of aardvark tracks. They're about as clear cut as you could ever wish for, and you can see them. The gate for this aardvark is quite far between the front and well, the two tracks that we have. So there's that right side track at the top, and then a left track on the bottom of the screen. So it's a really big gate, but you can see beautifully those stubby claws that they've got on the front. So track, so really cool to see. Now, funny enough, I actually saw a pangolin track too earlier. What looked like the pangolin track that we've been seeing, again in a very similar area. So I'm going to go back into that section, but I wanted to show you quickly, just with the aardvark, what we're looking for. So I was showing you just now that there's these, well, you could see in the sand that there was 3 lines. So it's no matter which one you look at, either the front or the hind, you're going to get those 3 lines. And then these are the claw marks on top. So you see they've got really big, thick nails that are quite stubby from them digging so much. And so that's the nails there. And this is the toes, and then this is like a little dew claw almost. So much like what you see with the cats or with buffalo, warthogs, they've got these that sit quite high up on the leg, and even in soft sand you will find these over there. Now this is the front foot, so the toes are much tighter packed together, whereas the back foot, you'll see you've got quite a large gap between the second and third toe. Now, for all of you who are not sure what an aardvark is and what it looks like, I have another different book here to show you what an aardvark is. So that's an aardvark over there. They are very odd looking creatures. It almost looks like a rabbit that's been crossed with a pig, and you get this really kind of round backed, short legged, long snouted, big eared, odd animal that moves around. And they are quite a few here. You'll be surprised how many aardvarks we actually see in this area. They're not as rare as people think. The problem with them is that they're highly nocturnal, which means we see them very seldom in on our drives. You find them in the middle of the night. If you drive out here, you will see them. The other thing I wanted to show you is, because a lot of people don't know just how big, and that shows you in relation to a human. Not quite as large as that, but it will come up, the top of the ears do come up to about the mid thigh of an adult male, so they are really quite big, and they've got this big hunchback and these short little legs and a very stubby hairless tail. So there we go. Very cool. Now, I believe a lot of you would love to see an aardvark. Well, so would I. It's the right weather for it. It's a bit cloudy, but cold, which is perfect weather for aardvark hunting, so to speak, and to finding. So maybe we'll get lucky. I'll check around. Unfortunately, it seems like aardvark from here went in and started going into the bush and having a look. There is a big termite mound just in front here that I might just go do a little loop around, and maybe just maybe there will be an aardvark somewhere. Now apparently my audio is not good again. I don't know what's going on with this at the moment. Now, barring our tracks for our aardvark, what has come out of the bush right here, and I don't know where they came from because there was no tracks earlier, is the tracks for a lion. So I'm just going to try and position myself that Senzo can see them as well. So there is the tracks, just be quite close to the car, Senzo, so somewhere there you should be able to see them. Actually, they're a little bit further forward, so if you just punch in, I'll show you. Come down a little bit this way, down. Alright, so there it is. There's the lion track just there, so you can see back of the pad in that area, and then the toes just going to the front. So it looks like one of the Birmingham boys tracks, and I think these are the same tracks that go all the way up to Quarantine, given that we are on Weaver's Nest. So these are not the tracks that I wanted to find. I was hoping to find fresher tracks in this, but these tracks, apparently Rex followed them all the way into Arathusa Simambili area. So Those are not the tracks we're looking for. But there was a lion that roared somewhere in this vicinity, so I wonder, maybe worth just checking around. Lynn, you want to know what the difference is between a female lion and a male lion's roar? Just other than the males being much deeper, the male's voice is much bigger and deeper and louder, so it carries a lot further, and it also seems to have a lot more bass in it. When you have a roar from a female, it tends to be a little bit more kind of, I don't know, higher pitched, if that's the right word. Now, you might be wondering why I'm off-roading. The reason why is because I want to come quickly just check this termite mound and see if there's any activity as to maybe this aardvark living inside this termite mound. There is a hole there, but it doesn't look like it's been that well utilized, although I do see some scrape marks on going up, so maybe our aardvark is inside that burrow. You see there's a big deep burrow inside there, so it very well could be that the aardvark is actually living there, because the tracks that we had come straight pretty much to this termite mound, so it could be very possible that there is an aardvark living inside that mound. It doesn't look well used, so I'm not 100%. You'll find a nice path that goes in there, and you can see lots of to make for itself. Interesting nonetheless. It's an area we'll just have to monitor and check it out and see. Maybe we get lucky and one day we bump into this aardvark in this area. Justin, you want to know what an aardvark sounds like? They don't actually, I've never heard them make like a territorial call or anything like that, and to be honest, I've spent so little time with aardvarks, I have no actual clue if they can make a territorial call. But generally, the times that I have seen them, all you hear more than anything else is this nose going crazy and sniffing and snorting and kind of trying to work out what's around it and trying to find termites and ants and varying other tiny little things that they can go and feed on. So that's pretty much all you hear, is just a very loud sniffing sound. So it's pretty much the only sound I've ever heard an aardvark make. I would imagine they maybe can make a sound, but I've never heard it myself, and therefore unfortunately would not even be able to replicate it in the slightest. Most certainly, Dina, a lion would eat an aardvark at a heartbeat. In fact, I've seen 2 different aardvarks being eaten by lions by the Salala Pride in the west of us. They've gone after aardvarks quite regularly, actually, and they will eat it. They love an aardvark, in fact. I've seen them eating aardvarks, and they ate it with absolute relish. So yes, they will. Leopards also, we know Tingana and Anderson, both of them love a good aardvark. They like to feed off them and eat them, and I've got a picture somewhere of an aardvark hanging in a tree with Anderson, who killed it the year before, one of the 2, and he put his aardvark in the tree. Very strange thing to come around the corner and there's an aardvark dangling from the boughs of a marula. Really quite odd. I'll try and find the photo just now, and I'm going to show all of you exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know where else to check really for this lion. It was calling it. Maybe it's the same one and it just managed to move very fast. I don't know, but I don't think so. I think the lion we heard must still be around. I did get word that the Sticks in as well, so maybe they're here somewhere and one of the boys is with the Sticks Pride and is settling down with them. But while my next move is going to be, let's go back to Jamie, who's got some hyenas on a carcass.
So for now, we've left our cheetah. We've got a long way, and we've got to get our ranger back so that he can go to work. So we're miles away from where we have to drop him. But I thought I'd stop quickly on the way in that direction to show you the kill that we were talking about. Or was it a buffalo, or was that a wildebeest? Looks a little small now that I look at it properly. And the vultures are doing their standard... look at this one on the right, quickly. That is called early morning vulture yoga. I'm not sure what that pose is called. Perhaps something along the lines of spread vulture. No? Somebody think of a good yoga name. The Rupals obviously decided it didn't want to be the object of our mocking and has closed its wings. The vulture's really enjoying the morning sun. You'll see most of them standing with their back but unfortunately for hyenas have all but devoured at this point, which explains as well the hyena's disinterest in the cheetah. There was only one that seemed to care, and I think that was only because he wasn't allowed to feed here. And of course, a marabou stork, just for good measure. There were some jackal hanging around. I'm hoping they might show themselves again. They might decide to come back here. I really need to sneeze and it's stuck. Oh, hyena's showing off a vulture. I don't think the vultures have managed to eat any of this yet. They're all just taking the opportunities to sunbathe. Lots of rupals here. Randy, you say they're devouring that thing and they must be famished. You'll probably find that these hyenas have only just got this chance to feed this morning. So yes, they might well have been hungry, although they're looking quite round-bellied, and the migration is around this area, which of course means that most of the predators and the scavengers are well fed. Hey, scrapping. Biting each other. Vultures all roosting and resting quietly. I don't think they're that hungry, but I do think that they haven't had a chance to feed. The more dominant hyenas of the clan were probably the ones that had the best opportunity and got the most out of this kill. And these two have probably been left behind. These are the same two that were chasing that other hyena when we were sitting with the cheetah, so we're not far away from where the cheetah are at all. We woke up facing the rising sun. It was beautiful. Snazzy, no. Hyenas and vultures, I mean, wouldn't say they don't get along. I wouldn't say they get along either. They're not bosom buddies. They are essentially in competition for the same resource. Hyenas are bigger, stronger, and will chase away the vultures at any opportunity that they get. That is a wildebeest. It's not a buffalo. That looked like stomach contents there. Oh, please excuse me. Something's gone up my nose. Might have been a mucky little bug that was flying around. So the hyenas will chase the vultures away. The vultures will wait patiently until the hyenas are done. So it's very common to find them together, and as a result they are relatively tolerant of each other. I've seen a group of vultures chase a cheetah off a kill before. That does happen. A large collection of vultures. Well, actually, it was a female cheetah. She was all on her own, and the vultures just ascended and essentially mobbed her until she had to leave the kill. They're not capable of doing the same thing to hyenas, though, even in great numbers. You might even find if there's one hyena remaining nibbling on one side, it'll let the vultures feed off the other end. I imagine that a vulture packs quite a peck. Naturable? No. You don't see secretary birds scavenging off kills like this in a group of vultures, of the marabou stork and hyenas. You won't find a secretary bird here. I've never ever seen a secretary bird scavenge before. I've only ever seen them hunt their own kills. So you would definitely not. You might see one walking about in the background, stalking around, looking for something around the periphery, but you won't see them in the midst of this kill mosh pit, as it were. Perhaps mosh pit. No, it wasn't such an exaggeration. See? Vultures are scrappy things. And you get one of two things. You get vultures fighting or you get vultures mating when they collect in large numbers like this. Especially during the breeding season. Perfect. So Jake, perfect. It is the forward-facing vulture pose. There's one of them's doing it over there. There we go. There's the forward-facing vulture pose. I might try it sometime. It looks relaxing. I basically do. First thing in the morning when the sun first comes up, because it's so nice and warm after the chilly evenings. It's basically what Manu and I look like. Sun. Like that. Except I have to face the other way. Sun. Forward-facing vulture. A pose to be remembered, great for the shoulders and for neck tension. I guess. I don't know. I don't know anything about the forward-facing vulture pose. One hyena has moved off. The second one, I think, will follow shortly. And then the vultures will finally have their opportunity, and they know it. There's just that slight shift in the atmosphere. The vultures that were basking are now moving forward, pressing forward, hoping to snatch a mouthful once the feeding frenzy starts. Lily, the reason that we've got bigger vultures than hyena, by the way, happy hunting, or whatever you're going to get up to. The reason that some vultures are bigger than others is because we've got different species here. So if we start off with the largest, there is a lappet-faced vulture on the left, right on the periphery. That is a lappet-faced vulture. That one on the left over there, the largest of the in the same. In terms of the hierarchy, usually the first feed at a proper full carcass, of which this is not really. They're almost like the tin openers, to use a rather overused comparison. Oh, look, the vultures have chased the hyena off. Vultures have moved in. There we go. Allow the frenzy start. I'm just going to be quiet so you can hear the sounds. Prehistoric, isn't it? Don't you think it sounds like something out of Jurassic Park? Lots of posturing, lots of fighting, pushing, shoving, and that's of course where weight comes in handy. The lappet-faced hasn't even bothered to go in there. There's not enough meat there for it to be worth his while. And that was what I was talking about when I said it was the feeding frenzy was going to start. So there's a hierarchy at these kills. The rupels pushing in there will have a better opportunity than the whitebacks. Lynn, we've lost all of our mammal scavengers at the moment, but in terms of scavengers, just in general, hyenas will be more dominant than jackal, absolutely. Jackal are tiny. They're sort of fox-sized little creatures, whereas a hyena is built stocky, powerful, crushing jaws. It's not as fast as the jackal, as a result, which is why you'll often see jackal sneaking in and grabbing scraps. But it is most definitely less dominant than a hyena. I've seen jackal chase vultures off though as well, though usually not this many. This is a lot of vultures for a jackal to take on. Quite extraordinary sounds emanating from this particular gathering. While we sit and enjoy our dubious dawn chorus, let's go find out whether the sounds around Brent are slightly more pleasant.
Welcome back, everyone. We're in the area where we lost the sausage tree pride, or we left them last night, and unfortunately no luck so far. So we're going on one of these very little used roads. Their general direction was here, but so far it's devoid of zebra, devoid of life in general. But I think if we don't get any luck here, they might have looped back round towards where the cubs were, so we might go have a look down there next. But it is an absolutely gorgeous morning still, and it is, I'm hoping, going to turn into a very productive morning. And it's quite nice coming into these areas where there's no other cars. It does, however, make finding the animals a little bit more difficult because you're all on your own on your search. Now, there's also a chance the female cheetah that had a few cubs might come into this area. Lily's wondering, is Mara right on the equator? Well, nearly, Lily. It's not far from the equator. And what that does mean is that we have a very sort of similar weather, similar temperatures and similar day-night all year. There's very little variance in sunrise and sunset and in the temperature. It's pretty solid throughout the year. And even though we are and being quite high, so it doesn't really get too hot. Very seldom gets over 30 degrees Celsius, but it can get quite chilly though. But that's the altitude rather than anything else. Well, while we try our luck with the sausages, let's go see what everyone else is up to.
Well, Brent, we just where Tumba was last night, having a little look around. It's typical for him in the mornings. There's just tracks for him everywhere. So if you have a look from here, you can actually see on the left side of the road, or of the track that's coming down towards us, is his footprints coming back in my direction. So there they are. They're slowly walking sort of towards where I am. You can just make them out, disturbing the tire tracks, and so there they are, just coming straight in my direction. So I think he's somewhere on the banks here. It's just going to be a matter of pinpointing exactly where he is. He seems as though he's moved around quite a few circles here. He's got north south, as he does. We know he likes to kind of be one of those cats that does move like this, so I'm pretty sure he's here. It's just a matter of bumping into him, or at least him down as to where exactly he's gone. I just want to make 100% sure. So this is his tracks that have come from there down this way, which is exactly where I left him last night. I left him on this little bridge of sand here, so he must be in this general vicinity. This is where he likes kind of hanging on the bank here, on this bank on top. There's a nice vantage point there. He's also got good cover. There's lots of long grass. There's a few sort of sections that he can get into that he can really hide. The young male leopard, it's not a bad place to be. Also, at the end, not any further north either, so it means he can cross from here. I can't see where he goes in after that. It seems like they just kind of disappear in this direction, so I don't know where he would have gone from there. He went on to the top here. So I wonder if he's not just lying down somewhere up here. Little Tumba, where are you? I know you're here somewhere. You just got to tell us where you are. Senzo earlier he saw a leopard standing up not too far from where we are now. We went and had a little look, but we didn't find him. But Senzo's got very good eyes, so I do trust in his eyes, and I wonder if that leopard didn't just stand up and then lay down again and we just missed him. I just want to quickly check up on top here, because this is where the tracks are heading. So there's a little trap, if you want to call it, which is a pathway that goes in this direction, and maybe, just maybe, I can pick up some sort of sign of this leopard, or he's lying in the grass here somewhere. Of course, he could have also headed all the way down towards Twin Dams as well. That's also a very big possibility, but I just want to make double sure he's not lying down somewhere at the base of the tree or in these little thickets before I leave this area completely. In terms of there's no further noise coming from them. Sounds like Rexon says to me that he's got the Talamati Pride, and they're right where there's tracks for the Nkahuma Pride. So that seems to be bringing those two prides together, which is going to be very interesting to say the least, because at the end of the day, the Talamati Pride has got 6 young males in it. So those males are now apparently about 2.5 to 3 years old, and 6 young males can be a little bit intimidating if you are a group of young little year-old cubs. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what goes on there. Now, Are these the tracks from yesterday or are these new ones? These look like new tracks that are on top of my footprints. So he obviously came up and then he's walked up here again. So let's follow these and see where they take me. Tumba, the problem with Tumba is he's walked here so much now, it's difficult to see which tracks are which, because there literally is footprints going in every single direction. So I want to make double sure that these are the fresh ones. They look like they are. So I just want to check along. There was tracks for a young male leopard apparently going into Buffle's Hook. So potentially he could have gone straight north all the way, but I would doubt it. I don't know why he would push up that side. I don't think he's ever been to Buffle's Hook before, and there would have to be a reason for him to go that way. There's no sign of any other animals or leopard or lion that have come past here that would push him that quickly and that far to go up into that direction. So it's a bit of a mystery as to why he would have gone that far. But let's just check here again in this drainage. I see some impalas up ahead of me, which means that in all likelihood they're fairly relaxed and feeding. He hasn't come up this way just yet. No tracks on this particular path, so I just want to turn down here. Tumba, where are you? He's somewhere in here. He's probably just being his normal self and is cruising around investigating things, and it'll just be a matter of actually bumping into him to find him. But you can see why it's a nice place for a little leopard. He's got lots of areas where he can hide and sit, and it will be difficult to find him. His grass. So Senzo says I must come back, and we always listen to Senzo because Senzo's got good eyes. He spots things a lot further than you can imagine, so it's always good to listen to him. How much further? Under the tree, you say? Which tree? The big one, the tall one? Okay, so something under that tree. Let's go and investigate, Senzo. Always worth checking. So whenever you get a feeling like there is something, it's one of those things out here that you should do, is just to go and check it out and make sure that you double check. And even if it's not anything, it's not wasting your time to go there, because, well, if it is something, then you're richly rewarded. So it's worth going and checking. I can't see anything myself very well. Senzo, who's standing slightly taller than I am, being on the back car, can sometimes see into places that I can't. So it's not to say that there isn't anything. Let's see. No, I don't think so, Senzo. So we were just having a look, but I don't think so. I think it's just a fallen over tree that Senzo saw, but it looked like the right color for it. So just having a little look around. Now there's another vehicle that I must just talk to that's in this area, because he's probably wondering what Twin Dam's coming. Even gonna answer me. Yeah, Andrew, just following tracks for Tumba in this area. No sign so far, but the last track was heading towards this thicket. So just letting Andrew know what I'm up to. But no sign of him that I can see. Oh, little Tumba, where are you? Are you playing hide and seek? I just want to check down below here. Like I say, this is a section that I would imagine he would spend time in. You can see in front of me how perfect this is for leopard. It's a little undulating terrain. There's lots of thickets, lots of dense areas, a bit of long grass where he can get into and really camouflage and hide if he wants to. So if he wants to disappear here, it would be very, very tough for us to find him. Right, I think what I'm going to do is just have one more look around here, check, see, try to find some sort of sign of him. And so while I do that, I believe Jason is out and about in the market, and hopefully today she hasn't gotten stuck and is far more dry than she was yesterday.
we all know that Tristan's going to find said leopard that he's tracking, so we'll keep you entertained while he goes off in search of him. I didn't want to leave the cheetah, I didn't want to leave that carcass with all the vultures around it, but unfortunately duty calls for our ranger, so we're going to start racing towards Kikarok. It's pretty far away. And he's been out with us all night, it seems only fair. This is where the lions came from, I just saw their tracks. So this is where we had the cheetah hunt start, and we went through a dip, and then they caught the topi just past the reach of our camera. There was a ridge in the way, essentially, and I picked the wrong two. They missed the ones that they were chasing, and by the time I got to the other three, the hunt was essentially over, and they'd managed to catch the topi. Lions then went off in this direction, so perhaps on our way through, we might actually encounter them. It's a male with the split lip. Brent has seen him before, and there's another male that has the most distinctive roar. Not a split lip, sorry, he's got a split nose. I have never heard a roar like that in my entire time out here. He sounds completely unique. It is, I think he must have some kind of damage to his larynx. It's very distorted, and he can't keep that sound going in the same way other male lions do. It's a very, very distinctive sound, and Brent had told me about it, and then I spoke to him on the phone last night after the lions had chased the cheetah away, and he told me to listen out for that particular roar, and it's amazing how much it stands out. It is completely different to any lion roar I've ever heard. So there you go. We often talk about the fact that the lions can identify individuals by their roars. In this case, we can too. And hopefully, I think we're going to be spending a lot of time here soon, or over the coming months, and coming weeks. Hopefully we get to know him. So Jake, I have been lucky enough to go on a balloon safari once. Manu, on the other hand, is actually our designated balloon cameraman. So he's been on, how many journeys do you think you've been on, Manu? 12. How many? 12. So Manu's been on 12. He does the most extraordinary camera work from up in the top of the balloon. My favorite part was when you're floating and it's silent and you can just hear the wind blowing past you, because that, I imagine, is what it must be like to be a bird. That silence, complete silence, and even the sounds, even when you're low to the ground and you can hear the sounds, they're muffled and indistinct. And I really enjoyed that feeling, because it gave me an insight into, you know, I've flown in planes and helicopters and all sorts of things, but I've never had such a silent journey. Manu, what's your favorite part? The landings. The landings are the best. The landing consists of, alright everybody, hold on. And the pilots are very skilled, but they lower the basket, and then you drag. You drag until you stop dragging, essentially, and the balloon deflates and flops on the ground. And you wind up, you finish up upside down. I must put that picture up. I've got a great picture of Manu and myself lying down on the ground. Well, depending on the wind speed, it depends where you land. Sometimes you land where there's lots of termite mounds and you bounce. And you bounce for as long as you bounce for. The pilots obviously can't control the speed of the wind, which is what makes them very skilled at what they do. There's a whole heap of calculations that go into exactly how they fly, but the landings are fun. They're very exciting. Plus, I got to see a rhino on mine, so I was definitely not complaining. I am now, in essence, just following my nose and pointing myself in the right direction. Right, I think you're all keen to hear exactly how Tristan's tracking has gone. There's plenty of teas in the next sentence, but let's go across to Tristan to find out how where tracking Tumba has taken him.
Sorry, Jamie, that was so many T's. It's a mouthful to say tracking tumba. Tristan tracking tumba. It's like you have to say it fast to try and practice your vocalizing. But so far, no good. Tumba is on where he's from, that little pathway. It doesn't seem like he's crossed towards this block between Weaver's Nest and Pangolin Track. It looks like he's still somewhere around the Mulawati, but I just can't find him. I've driven around and looked and checked under all the trees and bushes, and I can't find any sign of him at all. So he must be here. It's just a matter of finding exactly where he went. Apparently the guys have checked twin dams, no sign there, so I'm just looking very carefully underneath the trees. Now there's an update, and I'm just trying to get the update as to who it is, because it sounds like somebody just found legs on a kill, but I can't understand where exactly it is. It was very broken apart. Also there's tracks here on the road. Now what are these? No, that's hyena track. That's not what we're looking for. Unfortunately, somebody drove here this morning and they don't have a tracker on their vehicle, so it's very possible that they've also driven over tracks, which is nice. So let's head a little bit south, and then from here just turn around up the Mulawati and check. Where are you, little Tumba? Come on. Come on, little cat. Now's the time to start walking. I'm sure he is. It's just a matter of spending some time here and searching. Yesterday, where we first found was very dim, wouldn't have been able to see him on the road. Kind of have to just plug away a little bit, and eventually he then kind of moves around. We know he doesn't lie down. He tends to be active cat and seems to like walking and seeing what's around him. So I'm pretty sure if we just So I believe my audio is now getting worse. I have no idea why, given that I am not even moving. Megan, is that better? It'll come back at some point. It generally does. The audio, I don't know why it was giving me a headache. It seems like it's gone from my ears to my microphone. So I had ear problem with my earpieces. Now I've got microphone. So it's just another day in the life, really. Whose tracks are these now? These are lion tracks. A whole pride of lions that have come through here. So if you look on both sides of this track, there is most definitely lions on both sides there. So you can see a track coming down this way and a track coming down that way. And it looks like potentially this pride must have walked here. Interesting. I wonder where these tracks head off to. Maybe these are the lions we heard this morning. They might have gone towards Treehouse and I just got there before they did, or something like that, because they're heading the opposite direction. What I'm going to do is just go up the Mulawati anyway and just check anything there, and if there's nothing, we'll come back to these tracks. It's difficult to actually get my mind right this morning. Lines are distracting me from Tumba, then I get distracted with Tumba, and now more lines. It's tough. I'm stupid, but it's all good. We'll be alright. We'll figure it out eventually. But the other tracks are interesting because from what I gathered yesterday, the 6 must have crossed near Shabam side. So it means they've come all the way here and then gone back that way again, which is very odd. So I'll go check up on them just now what's happening with them, but it's quite strange to see that their tracks are going in that direction. And if there's nothing at Twin Dams, I wonder where they could be. Interesting. Maybe they went on Elephant Skull, checking Elephant Skull, seeing around there. Maybe that's where. Now, I believe my audio is completely a mess at the moment. moment, so I'm going to try and just sort that out and try and get it right and get some semblance of order to what's going on. And while I do that, I believe Jamie is still bumbling around the Mara in the glorious Mara sunshine, and I would hope that she gets some Mara sunshine.
This morning we're everybody's favorite people because we know exactly where the cheetahs are. But I'm going to go and see what everybody's looking at over here. My money's on lions. Lions, lions. I rate it's lions. Let's go and find out. Can't drive past lions no matter how much of a hurry I'm in. Not without showing you ever so quickly. Excuse me, I'm coming through. Ah, hello. Manu, they weren't females that ran away. They were young males. That explains everything. Hello, my boy. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for posing so beautifully for us. No, they weren't young males. Not even I could have made that mistake with that amount of mane. They were far away and it was dark, but I'm still pretty sure it was a female. I would love to tell you which males these are. I have absolutely not a clue. Two young, very blonde boys. Beautifully blonde, actually. In fact, have you been bleaching? Lovely, lovely. Lovely surprise. I'll try and find out a little bit more about these young males. They're right at the age where it's time to leave home and set off on a really rather nomadic life until they're large enough to compete for territory. But they're at that sort of, I would say, 3.5-year-old stage. I can't tell from the other one. He's still fast asleep. At this point, they're going to have to fend for themselves, essentially. Luckily, the migration is in town, so food is easy to come by. Nancy, very regal, is he not? Just imagine what he's going to look like in 3 years' time. I mean, he's grown into his mane, or his mane's grown into him. No, he's lovely. He really is beautiful. Even with the mohawk. Huh? Mohawks look good on lions. Blinking in the what is turning out to be quite harsh sunlight this morning. I wonder. We chose to follow the cheetah last night, but I really think that last night the lion dynamics were particularly interesting. There was lots of noise, scrapping at one point I heard. So we had to make a choice, we had to make a decision as to which cat to follow, and we stayed with the cheetah, and I'm very glad that we did, but it would have been interesting to spend time with the lions last night as well. Willow, are they at a mating age? They are certainly capable of it, and that is why, essentially, they become nomadic at this age. So, whilst they're sexually mature, they are capable of mating, and they would be able to reproduce. They are... that makes them competition, not just to other male lions, but to the dominant male lions that would think themselves the fathers in this area of these two boys. So it becomes a stage in the life where they have to move, they have to disperse. Instinct tells them to do so, and if instinct doesn't get it right, then the males, the dominant males of the area will, and they'll chase them away. And whilst I think that younger male lions do get the odd chance to mate, I was trying to think of how to phrase that properly, they do get the odd chance to mate. I think it's when they manage to essentially what we would term pull a sneaky in somebody else's territory. If they happen upon a lioness in estrus, she's not picky, she will mate with them, and they'll be able to have a chance. But they are not big enough yet to actually control a territory, at least not a very large one, and they'd find themselves in big trouble from the dominant male lions of the area. So it'll be another year to 2 before they can properly start to compete, and another 3 years at least before they're really properly in their prime. But would it be possible that they could father cubs? Absolutely. Proud cat mama. Lions can run, I'm not going to be silly and say very fast. At its fastest, a charging lion can cover a distance of around about 20 meters per second. That is 60 feet per second. That is at their absolute top speed. And just picture something or look at something 60 feet away and count to 2 in your head and just realize just how fast that is. It's something that is drummed into us as guides, especially when you start to walk out with the animals, is just how fast a lion can cover distance if it really wants to. They, of course, cannot maintain that speed for very long. They're not creatures that are built for stamina in the same way hyenas are. And they overheat very quickly, which is why they're ambush predators, why they're social predators, so that the chase isn't prolonged, or very seldom is prolonged. Males are slightly slower than the females, and so slightly less limber at least. Maybe not slightly slower, but slightly less limber, and they're not able to run for as long as the females are. 60 feet per second. I've seen it before. You see, when you really see just how fast they can run, you actually are, it's breathtaking. A leopard could probably do it even faster, and a cheetah, of course, at top speed is the fastest big cat here. Dara, yes, I think that male lions probably would recognize their mothers even after being away from the pride for a long time. Their mothers aren't going to be very happy to see them, though. Females, especially females with cubs, the last thing they want in their lives is a male around. They do not want that trouble, and although the males might recognize their mums, they are still instinctively males at heart, and if they find a mother with young cubs that they don't recognize, that they haven't grown up with, there's a good chance that they will kill them. So, although they might recognize them, they will find themselves not welcomed at all by the females if they happen to wander back into their natal home range, and they definitely won't be welcomed by the males. So, whilst I think there is certainly a degree of recognition, I don't think it is reciprocal. Even if the mothers recognize their sons, they might even run away. The last thing they want is a fight between male lions and to be caught in the middle of it, because when territorial takeovers happen, the females are the ones that bear the brunt. New males will kill cubs. Often, the males are so hyped up on testosterone that even if the female so much as growls at them, they lose control and they end up occasionally killing females as well, despite it being slightly counterintuitive, because of course they need the females to produce cubs. But during that takeover time, they are so pumped up and full of testosterone and adrenaline that it makes them slightly more aggressive. Ryan, yes, these lions would absolutely. So we always talk about the fact that we're able to get so close to these animals in the vehicle, in an open vehicle, because they don't see us as a threat. They've become accustomed. They've grown up with vehicles moving around them from a very, very early age. If I were to get out of this vehicle, if I were to present what is a bipedal form in their eyes, well, hopefully it's bipedal form. I haven't actually had to use my legs in the last 12 hours, so I'm not entirely sure at this point. But let's say I was able to stand upright. If I move towards them now, they would run away. I might get a growl, I might get a charge, a sort of a whoa, move forward like that, and then they'll be gone. And they'll be running for quite a while, especially if I get out at this distance. If I were to walk towards them from quite a distance away and they were able to see me and I wasn't walking a direct line with clear body language intent to hurt them, I might be able to sit with them at a distance, but this is far too close and they'd get a shock. They would get a serious surprise. And they're not as accustomed to seeing people around here on foot. I have heard, however, that lions in particular don't like red sugars, but perhaps you should ask Brent that question.
Well, I'm hoping they like red shukas this morning because it's my favorite shuka. We are not having much luck this morning. We're in sort of no man's land really at the moment. We have not seen another car all morning, but unfortunately we haven't seen much else. We've seen one topi, a couple of herds of elephants, and there's a nice herd coming up here. But the Sausage Pride have this massive area that they roam in, where there are not many roads. And I mean, if they are 50, 60 meters off the road, unfortunately, they'll pretty much be invisible, especially if they're hunkered down in this cold wind. Oh, hello, big girl. There we go. There's a lovely elephant cow and calf. The little one's thirsty. Now, the reason I've stopped so far is I can see from her body language that she's a little bit nervous, and that can be expected in these areas where there are not a lot of vehicles. Also, elephants are really not big fans of strong wind, so I'm just stopping, letting her get used to the sound of my voice, and letting her relax again. You can see her body language changed. She's not as stiff and as upright as she was earlier. She's still very aware. Just watch her trunk, how she's sniffing, but the wind is actually coming from her to me, so she's not going to be able to smell us. But she's looking a little bit calmer, so let's try get a little bit closer. Now, very important in these situations to move very calmly and slowly. I'm pretty sure she's going to be fine, but just in case she's not, I'm not going to drive directly at her, giving her lots of nice space. So if she decides she wants to move away, she can. So here we go. You can see she's lifted her head again, and we're a little bit closer, and I think this is about as close as we will go to her at the moment. She's just not that comfortable. Hey, big girl. Now, with elephants, some days they can be completely relaxed, other days not so much. She's got a very distinct tail, as you see that. There's a kink in the tail. Very distinct. And lovely long, even ivory. Now, it could be the fact that the wind is blowing from her to us. And that could be the reason she's unrelaxed. She can't get our scent. But she's getting better. Bodie Fighting says the baby looks shy. I think that baby is actually 100% fine. He doesn't know anything's untoward. And nothing is. See, there we go. Her tail's starting to wag. Now, you see the tail is a very important thing in elephant behavior. So when the tail is lying limp and wagging a little bit, it's okay. When the tail gets rigid, it means they're uncomfortable. Proud Cat Farmer would like to know, how do elephants communicate? They have lots of different vocal communications, and it's all in rumbles, and some of it is in such a low frequency that we are unable to hear it, but it sounds, I suppose, like a very big cat purring. They also have, oh, look at Cheeky one. Hello, Cheeky. Little one's lifting his head a bit. Okay, let's move a little bit further down the road. Try to get opposite them. And so they also communicate in screams, trumpets, roars. Ellies have a very, very complex and very, very varied vocal system. And it's very important to take your time with elephants, because the same elephant that might be completely relaxed one day might be completely upset the other. And you can see she's much more relaxed now. She knows we're here, but she's feeding. Here we go. That's just a little head shake there. That's just saying, listen, I'm a really big animal. Please don't get in my way. Sally Jane would like to know how old the little one is. I would say probably about 5 or 6 months. Oh, he's having a playtime. Look at him. Christy says, don't elephants usually travel as a group? Christy, there are a lot of elephants here that are just very spread out. So they do spread out when feeding. They can be up to 500-600 meters away from each other. And you'll see there's a second elephant there. But there are more spread out up and down this little lugger system. And they don't like wind, particularly elephants. So you've always got to be a little bit extra cautious when the wind is blowing quite strongly as it is today. Now, following the elephants, taking advantage of them, is a bird for the birders. And if we go back to the second Ellie there, oh, no, he's disappeared. There's another one coming in. There we go. Doop. There's a grey-backed fiscal. There's a couple of them around. They're following the elephants. And as the elephants disturb any insects, off he goes. As soon as the elephant walks, waiting for some insects to be disturbed that they can pounce on and then impale on a thorn. So fiscal shrikes keep larders, so they will impale insects on thorns, so if they're full, so they can come back for a snack later. Now, I wonder where these lines have got to. We're going to keep moving down the not very often driven road, and hoping we might stumble across the lines. Also, the female cheetah I was talking about with that has got 2 little cubs, she sometimes moves into this area, so who knows what we might find. And that's the joy of a live safari. We literally have no idea what is around the next corner. Bye, Ellies. Oof, chilly wind this morning. So maybe, I checked all that side. Maybe the lions backtracked to where they originally were this morning. So that's what we're doing. We're heading to the area where they left the cubs, seeing if the cubs are not possibly, they've come back towards the cubs and are still in that area. Eduardo would like to know, if I had a chance to trade a male lion for his mane for my shuka, would I trade? No, Eduardo. I think I've got enough of a mane as it is, and I'm quite fond of my shuka. This is quite a special shuka. This is my oldest one. I've had it for about 8 or 9 years, and it was given to me by my anti-poaching staff that I used to work with in Tanzania when I left Tanzania. So this one is quite special, so I probably would not trade it. Oh, no, false alarm. Okay, well, we keep trying to find some lions in a haystack. Let's go across to Tristan, who's been out tracking.
Have been tracking, but interestingly enough, from what I can gather, just finding track from Tumba was all over the place, but they passed up into Buff, where an impala carcass vicinity must Tumba and Tandi, so she, and that means that he was dragged up that way, and maybe in the tree.
Crash cut. So welcome back, everyone. It seems like Tristan's found some gremlins. So you're going to join me for my meander through the haystack that is the Masai Mara, and the needle being the lions we're looking for this morning. So, and unfortunately, we haven't had much luck yet, but we have had some good luck over the last few days, and I'm hoping that that'll continue. Now, there's just such a vast area of grass that these lions can disappear into. But you've got to try to think like a lion, so you check likely areas where they might be. Now, unfortunately, the clouds are hiding the sun, but normally at this time of the morning, especially when there's a cold wind like this, the lions tend to try and pop themselves up on termite mounds or lie out in the open and try and warm up after a cold night. But with the cloud cover at the moment, the lions are probably hunkered down in the grass. But the other positive is that with a strong wind like this, the lions might decide that they want to do some hunting. And if there are any zebra around or whatever, there might be a chance that they might stalk and be mobile quite a lot later into the morning than if it was a hot sunny morning. Sylvie says, with such a vast open area, how do the animals hide their offspring? Well, there's lots of little thickets and bushes, and those are what they will use to hide their offspring. So they'll actually hide them in little thickets. I mean, we found lion cubs hidden in something as small as that bush next to the road there. So it just depends on the area they're in, and one must remember there are quite a lot of rocky outcrops and areas. Those will also be quite popular with the cats in particular to hide their offspring. A lot of the other stuff will hide their offspring underground. Bat-eared fox, jackal, excuse me, jackal, aardwolf, aardvark. But the cats and stuff, unfortunately for them, they have to make do with the little thickets, and of course hyenas will hide theirs under the ground. So if I get no luck in this area, I might take a trundle down towards the North Clan, see if anything's happening at the hyena den. Although I think our luck... What is that in the grass? It's a log. Please don't be a log. Please be a lion. It is a log. Oh dear. I got quite excited there for a second. I thought, aha! You sneaky kitties, I found you. But alas, it is just a log. Hugo would like to know what wild animal is responsible for killing the most lions. Now, Hugo, lions are responsible for killing the most lions. So that is one of those harsh realities out here, that male lions probably account for up to 60 or 70% of lion cub mortalities. And even adult mortalities will be lion on lion generally. But outside of lions, maybe hyenas, and that is only in extreme circumstances when those animals are carrying quite a big injury or something like that. So, but no, lions are probably responsible for the most lion mortalities.